Good morning.
Давай, включи. Ellen,
Yes.
morning, how are you? Are you okay? It's me, Azada.
Yeah, how
Hi.
are you? I'm okay. I'm good. I'm awake.
Okay,
It's
should we try? You wanted to try.
yes. Let me try. So
Okay.
hold on. This is
Козочки. Okay. А ну, попробуй как молчит.
yeah.
So we allowed you to show your presentation.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I'm just trying to set it up now. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
And hold on, I'll put it on here.
Okay, it's visible.
Can you see that?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, that's all okay?
Yes, it's on the screen and it moves. It's okay.
Okay, that's perfect.
Sizden uzun prezentasyonu korsatları size hazır.
Oh,
Eşiniz de
I
var.
need to get that out
Hazır.
of this.
Asosiy var adı bu. İşte картинка var.
Asosiyasyonu koydum, birinchisi.
Ha,
Bu yoqib so'rayman.
ma'lum. Mikrofon o'chib qo'y.
Okay, so I just need to, we're gonna start on time, is it? Or what's the? Okay,
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully.
5'te. Presentation.
Okay, I'm just going to get the, if I go over time on any of these sessions, please let me know. But I will
Okay.
try and be, do you want questions and discussion after each bit section?
We have it, yes, we have it in agenda actually.
Yeah,
Not
I'm just looking for it again. I just need to print it down. I have it here. Okay, so we have the ministry first, and then me, and then hold
The
on.
like the manager of Erasmus office in Tashkent,
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
vice rector Nazliye Nazmuradova.
Yeah.
Then
So I
you.
have all that. That's right. So then we have the first session, and
Do
yeah.
you
So
want me to send you the last version of agenda? I can send you on WhatsApp. Do you want me to do
okay,
that? Okay.
sure.
I will.
Yeah, send me the last version,
Okay, I will share it.
just in case there's any changes.
Картинка.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Сейчас вроде бы тащим, машина надо спешить проверить. Она русская пускай. А я прикматываю. Good morning, Helen. I'm really glad to see you. Assalamu alaikum.
Good morning.
Assalamualaikum.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's really too early. Yes, exactly.
It's quite early. It's for me it is almost 5 o'clock.
Oh, I can imagine. We exactly tried to start it at 10 a.m. It was
Yeah.
like 9 a.m. Yes, previous exactly our schedule.
Yes. This is better. This is better. Okay, let me just I was trying to adjust the background. I can't remember how.
Background is perfect.
It's okay?
Yeah, super.
Yeah, you see my room.
Yeah,
Not so good.
you have nice library.
Thank you.
Last time we really enjoyed your seminar, the
Oh,
training
thank you.
you provided. I hope this time will be more.
Okay,
well.
thank you. Thank you very much. That's very nice. I'm sorry. My husband and I enjoyed our time in Uzbekistan very much.
Nice to hear.
And the UNESCO conference was just in Samarkand.
You participated there in Samarkand?
No, but my colleagues did.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I am here. I'm just turning off.
Maganda kasi hindi ako actually. Gusto niya ako ulit mo.
Ellen, we will start in 5 minutes, okay? That's fine. That's okay. Thank you.
Oh, 5 minutes, okay. Thank you.
And then, sorry, how is the weather just while we have a time? You have muted. Your mic is muted.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. So I'm checking for you. It is 11 degrees.
Whoa. We have first time really white snowy day today.
All right. Well, actually, at this moment, it's not, it's 8 degrees, but it's not going, it's going to go up to about 11. But
Whoa.
we wouldn't, in Dublin, we wouldn't get snow.
Uh-huh.
No snow. I am
Now,
from I am from originally Chicago in the
yeah.
US, and we used to have lots of snow,
Yep.
but no snow here. I presume you have snow.
Yes, it is. As I told, it's first time white now.
Ah,
It
lovely.
was snow, but it was very few, and now it's zero just
Ah,
now, the degree.
cold.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, not. I mean, Irish people. It is cold for Ireland. I mean, yeah. And it's not really like you would think cold. It's not that cold. It feels colder here because it's very damp, lots of rain.
Uh-huh.
So
No, it
that
was
kind of
also,
gets in
yeah,
on your bones.
yeah. It was also very snowy. I would say last 3 years ago. But this time, it's first time we have in 18th of December. My birthday was on 12th, and I
Uh-huh.
remember that in my childhood we were playing snow outside at the birthday, but it's really uh, dry now, and we like that it's snowing.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a bit information for you.
No, that's lovely. I think the snow is, well, here they might get, it's very, very rare. And in Dublin, just maybe powder, but in the west of the country, and in the north, they get more snow, but again, not really very much, not what you would call snow, and not what I knew as snow.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Elimde chiqarilgan qani? Odina, ko'paysin. Odina, chiqadi, olib keling. Ne o'qiyman? Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli onlayn seminar ishtirokchilari. Demak, sizlarni bu seminarimizda ko'rib turganimizdan bag'oyat xursandmiz. Demak, mazkur seminar to'g'risidagi ma'lumot men nazarimda hamma oliy ta'lim muassasalariga tarqatilgan edi va bugungi seminar aynan ingliz tilida olib borilishi ham aytilgan edi. Shu sababdan biz ingliz tilida bu jarayonda olib boramiz. Bugungi tadbirimiz sifat kafolati va strategik rivojlanishga kompleks yondashuv, malaka talablari va daraja tuzilmalarini Bologna jarayoniga uyg'unlashtirish orqali tizimli muammolarni bartaraf etish mavzusiga bag'ishlangan. Ruxsat bersalaringiz, demak, ingliz tiliga o'taman. Assalomu alaykum once again. Distinguished colleagues, yes, representatives of Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, higher education institutions across Uzbekistan, yes, and our great expert, Alan. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to today's National Online Seminar on Holistic Quality Assurance and Strategic Vision, aligning qualification frameworks and degrees with Bologna to overcome systematic challenges. So this event takes place at a very important moment for Uzbekistan higher educational landscape. Over the past years, we have seen rapid institutional growth, yes? The number of public, private, and exactly blended universities as well, and increasing international engagement and rising expectation from society, students, employers, and global partners. At the same time, these developments bring complex challenges. Recognition of qualifications, alignment with labor market needs, governance capacity, digitalization, and the need to move from the formal compliance to genuine culture of quality. So today's agenda is designed to support universities in addressing these challenges holistically by linking strategic vision, quality assurance, qualification frameworks, degree structures, and data-driven decision-making within broader Bologna architecture. So this approach is not about copying models, but about adapting international principles to national priorities of Uzbekistan and institutional missions. So we are especially honored to have with us today one of the world's leading experts in this field, whose exactly works has shaped policy thinking globally and directly informs many of the reforms we are discussing today. And it's a great honor for me to introduce Professor Ellen Hazelcorn, one of the most influential global experts on higher education policy, quality assurance, governance, and university rankings. Professor Hazelcorn is a joint managing partner of BH Associates, Professor Emeritus, yes, at Dublin, and joint editor of policy reviews in higher education. She brings more than 2 decades of direct experience advising governments, ministries, international organizations, and universities on system-level reform and institutional strategy. Currently, Professor Hazelcorn advises the Irish Department of Further and Higher Education Research, Innovation and Science on the development of a national education strategy. She serves on high-level advisory and coordinating bodies in Ireland, Portugal, and across Europe, and actively engaged with UNESCO, the World Bank, and European Investment Bank on quality assurance, accreditation systems, and sustainable university financing. Her practical experience is exceptionally really deep. She has served on national quality boards, chaired and participated in international quality audits and evaluations across Europe, worked closely with European standard guideline-based review processes and contributed to the design and reform of accreditation and qualification system in diverse national contexts. Importantly for today's discussion, Professor Hazelcorn combines policy-level insight with institutional leadership experience. She previously also served as a vice president of what is now Dublin, where she was responsible for research, enterprise, and graduate education during a period for major institutional transformations. And I think this exactly is a unique combination. When policy advisor, quality assurance expert, institutional leader, and global scholar makes today's expert, Professor Hazelcorn, particularly well placed to support Uzbekistan higher education reform agenda, especially in areas such as holistic quality assurance, Bologna-aligned qualification frameworks, recognition, mobility, and strategic governance. Exactly, we had a technical assistant mission before, exactly 1 year, about international rankings, how exactly we can align it in universities' roadmap. It was a really great seminar for 2 days, and exactly from this period, we really, for us, it is a great honor that Professor Ellen Hazelcorn, she's an expert today. So I have given a short information about the contribution, yes, and exactly universities. You were being sent a special information about Ellen, what kind of expert she is, about her background, contribution, yes, and in order you should have a important information about today's event. So in that case, we will start our remarks phase, yes, and I will give the floor to Aljanake Hojayev, yes, to the head of Education Process Organization Department of Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation of the Republic of Uzbekistan. So please, the floor is yours. Marhamat, Aljanake Hojayev.
Assalomu alaykum. Avvalambor shu hamkasblarni va ekspertlarni bu yerda ko'rib turganimdan xursandman. Bilamizki, O'zbekiston oliy ta'lim tizimida ham normativ hujjatlarimiz yoki bo'lmasa me'yoriy hujjatlarimizni o'sha xalqaro standartlarga yoki Bolognaga, UNESCO bilan bog'liq hujjatlar bilan integratsiya jarayoni ancha dadil oldinga qarab yurmoqda. Shu bois men o'ylaymanki, bugungi ekspertlar va bu yerda o'tirgan mutaxassislar aynan oliy ta'limdagi hujjatlarni takomillashtirish, aynan malaka talablari va darajalarni uyg'unlashtirish bo'yicha o'zlarini takliflarini ilgari suradi. Bugungi seminar ishini men juda muvaffaqiyatli bo'ladi deb niyat qilyapman, chunki ancha muzokaralarga boy bo'lishi kutilyapti. Shu sababli o'ylaymanki, hamma erkin aynan oliy ta'lim tizimida shu malakalarni takomillashtirish, ular hujjatlarini ishlab chiqish borasida o'z fikrlarini erkin aytishsa va bu yerda ishtirok etayotgan xalqaro ekspertlarimizdan ham bu borada ancha takliflarni kutamiz deb o'ylayman. O'ylaymanki, erkin muloqot bo'ladi va bu biz uchun yana bir bor xalqaro tajriba bilan o'rtoqlashish imkoniyatini yaratadi. Rahmat.
Katta rahmat, Aljan aka. I would like exactly to give the brief information which was being told by the representative of Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, exactly for you, Alan. Exactly, he stated that all national reforms, current national reforms in Uzbekistan undergoing, they are going in alignment with international standards. Yes, and that's why exactly today's event. It will be really beneficial, and he hoped that this event will be open for discussions. Yes, not only, let's say, theory based, but there will be much more information where we can share our information, some new exactly assumptions on holistic assurance, which go in alignment with Bologna quality frameworks. Because it is really crucial aspect, and the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, they support all aspects. Yes, and once again, a great thanks to you, yes, that you are here with us today. We really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And right now, Isaac Karimuna, right now she's not available, but there is a representative of National Erasmus Office in Uzbekistan. We have Mahmudjon Utkurov. He's a project manager. I would like to give the floor to him in order to give some open remarks for Mahmudjon Akash. Are you here?
Yes, avvalambor assalomu alaykum, hurmatli hamkasblar, Oliy ta'lim fan va innovatsiya vazirligi hamda hurmatli ekspertlar jamoasi a'zolari, ishtirokchilar. Dear Professor Ellen Hazelcorn, it's a great pleasure to meet you even though in line, and this is the follow-up, the actions after the TAM seminar which is already organized in 2024. And our previous TAM was related to the ranking, but now it's again, we are really honored to collaborating with you in Bologna events. And as we know that in 12th of November 2025, it's already launched the Erasmus, the new call for the Erasmus Plus 2026, and therefore this event will be encouraged the all universities in Uzbekistan to apply for the Erasmus, and it's particularly for the taking into account Bologna process and as well as the quality assurance, because so far we have several types of the quality assurance related to some events. And for this reason, I hope these all universities and the representative here, not only for the Zoom, but also we have also the YouTube live streamer, they are watching our videos, and during this Zoom meeting, and the new ideas and the new cooperation will be established. And we are really honored to working with you again, and I hope that we're waiting again with you, not only in the virtual but in-person meetings in Uzbekistan. Thank you a lot. Have a fruitful day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm honored.
Thank you so much, Mohunjon. Yes. So once again, yes, I would like to highlight that Bologna, exactly, it's not about only formal membership. Yes, it is about trust. It is about transparency. It's about comparability. For Uzbekistan, yes, Bologna alignment is relevant because of exactly our higher education system is becoming increasingly international, both in student mobility and both in institutional partnerships. And even exactly without, we are not a member, formal member of European Higher Education Association, aligning degree structures, learning outcomes, quality assurance principles, which can help Uzbek qualifications in order to be understood, recognized, and trusted internationally. This is particularly important as Uzbekistan exactly position itself as a regional education hub, yes, and expands joint degrees, mobility programs, and international accreditation. So exactly in that case, right now, once again, for me, it's a great pleasure to give the floor to Professor Ellen Hazelcorn for opening the keynote. Professor Hazelcorn will begin with a presentation, Holistic Quality Assurance and Strategic University Vision, focusing on why quality assurance must be involved across governance, teaching and learning, research and societal engagement, and why exactly this matters, particularly for systems undergoing rapid transformation, such as Uzbekistan. Please, Ellen, yes, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm honored to talk to you again today. As I mentioned, I so enjoyed my time last time I was here in person in Uzbekistan. So let me share my presentation now. Someone else is sharing, it says. Is someone else sharing? Okay, right. So if you tell me, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Right. So I'll move ahead and hopefully leave some time for any questions. So this is what's already on your agenda, the topics I'm going to look at and discuss. And it will be brief given the timetable for today. So I guess I want to start with what's just been said about the importance of quality assurance, particularly in an international context. The issues of mobility, the issues of comparability, and international frameworks, which the ministry also mentioned. And when we look at these changes that we're experiencing across and around the world in terms of technological changes, green transition, demographic changes, and so on, these kinds of changes are obviously affecting all of us in different ways. We have different dynamics depending on where we are in Western Europe. We're reporting all kinds of issues around skill shortages. This is an enormous issue. On your side, you've got the demographic deficit. You have a huge demand. You also have issues around job shortages, skills. But broadly, I guess I want to really say is that the kinds of what we're looking at is a very changed environment globally. We're looking at huge issues around demography, changes in our populations in a big way. This has issues around supply and demand. And I know Uzbekistan is experiencing a lot of that. And then the issue of talent mobility, which is probably one of the keyest issues that we see about the what we might say the global talent pool and how that population is moving around. And the other issues have to do with our countries and our regions and how we're focusing on different kinds of strategic technologies, innovations, areas of specialization, and so on. And I'd say Uzbekistan is experiencing similar trends and challenges in terms of one, the presidential decree, which is a very impressive and ambitious document and plan, including quality assurance, the rapid expansion, as was mentioned, of higher education, particularly as an international destination, the demographic dividend, the issue of skilled professionals, and yet there are issues that many of us face in terms of skill mismatch, a better alignment with the labor market information, and so on, and how we provide that information as well as to students. And all these factors, all these issues feed into a quality assurance system, but also the need for a qualifications framework that makes understanding qualifications and comparability so important. So I guess what I'm just to say about quality assurance, nowadays, what I'd say, I mean, yes, we did talk about rankings, and rankings give a perception, and I'll talk about that in one of the other sessions, a perception of quality, but ultimately, quality, how well your higher education institutions perform, the quality of the qualifications, can we trust them? Are they comparable to others? Is probably the most important indicator for a country as to how well it's doing and how well it will do. And as I say, it's integral to what I call a knowledge producing and a talent attracting nation. And we're all that. It's talent attracting as well as retention, because the whole point of the education is that we're not educating everyone just to go somewhere else, which has largely been a problem in Ireland. UNESCO defines quality assurance as an all-embracing term that refers to ongoing, continuous process of evaluating, and that means assessing, monitoring, guaranteeing, maintaining, and improving the quality of a higher education system, its institutions, or its programs. It's a regulatory mechanism. Quality assurance focuses both on accountability and improvement, providing information and judgments, not ranking, through an agreed upon and consistent process and well-established criteria. And taking that as a definition, we're going to look at effectively all those aspects as we go through the morning. And all these different aspects, all which are bound up in the Bologna process and how it operates. And related to that is I wanted to call your attention to the Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualifications Concerning Higher Education, the UNESCO Global Convention. I did send a package of materials to you, information that might accompany this series of talks. And one of them has to do with the latest meeting at UNESCO, which was held in June, that looked at issues of recognition of qualifications. There's a background paper which I wrote for UNESCO, but the recognition of qualifications was mentioned again just earlier in the talks about the importance that in a mobile world we have a quality assurance system that we can trust, whether we're an employer, whether we're a student, a graduate, and we're looking for employment, whether someone is coming here, whether someone is coming to your country, whether or not your students are coming to you to study, that they have a qualification that is recognized internationally, not just in the institution. And therefore, what the Global Convention is about is setting out, is urging the setting up of, and this is what's in the document I sent, a global framework for setting and assessing qualifications, the recognition of global mobility, and for global mobility of students, workers, professionals, researchers, academics, and so on, promotion of international and interregional initiatives, and promoting mutual trust. Uzbekistan has joined the convention recently and is the first country in Central Asia to do so. And they remarked just in passing earlier, UNESCO had its major meeting recently in Samarkand. So this is an important document, and people signing up to it, countries signing up, is about the recognition of qualification. So again, this fits into the international framework. So why is quality assurance important for Uzbekistan, for everybody? It is, as I would say, it's a positioning and pride. Your education system, your graduates and so on are recognized as having a quality education. So it's a position and pride. It's a beacon to attract and retain investment, business, and talent. People will come and invest in a country where the graduates are of a high standard and are internationally recognized. It's important for the reputation and status of your institutions. There's an assessment of the performance, the quality of your research, that we can look at that. Graduate capabilities and importance. So quality assurance gives a sign, as a signal of all these things. The link between the qualification, the career, and the lifestyle. So it means something for potential students. This is a qualification that means something, and I can go on and do something with it. From the public's point of view, it shows what one might call value for money or return on investment. We've funded you. We are the taxpayers, we are the state, we are the public, we are supporting you, and the value of what you're giving back to society. It's vital in global networks, the partnerships that you are setting up. The other institutions want to know that your institution has high quality, and it's also increasingly important of protection against fraud. And I could speak about these issues later. So let's look at some of the concepts and practices of quality assurance. So, as I mentioned, quality is what I would call one of the key drivers and differentiators impacting in the world today. It is the difference between institutions and countries that have a high quality system and those that don't. And as I said, it provides confidence to prospective students, employers, and your society. It informs strategic and learner choices. So those kinds of choices: where will I study? Which institution? Whether you're public or private, if one place has a quality assurance system and that is aligned to your national system and it's aligned internationally, it has a greater attraction for incoming students than others. As I said, it's a beacon and it's a position of national pride. And ultimately, it's my view, political and societal support for higher education in Uzbekistan can only be maintained by the assurance of quality. No one is going to support a system that is producing poor graduates who can't do the work that they're supposed to be able to do. So just a couple of concepts to think about. So the first one is quality. And this is always a difficult thing. So we've got a quality assurance system. So what is it doing? It's supposed to be assessing quality. But what do we mean by quality? And this is where to use the expression, where the rubber hits the road. It's very tricky. There is, as I said, no single internationally agreed definition or how it should be measured or improved. And there's no single definition of quality because institutions are different. You have different types. You have technological universities. You have institutions of the arts. You have universities that are research intensive. You have different types of institutions. You have different contexts. You have different missions. So the issue about what is quality is quite different. And that's why when we look around the world, or you look at even on the ranking side, if you look at all these things, everyone has their own perspective. Is quality the institution that produces graduates to find work in their local communities? Is the best university the one that focuses on research? Is it the one that has open access and allows and invites students who may have been locked out of the system before? So the mission of an institution, as I said, quality is variable and it should reflect the diversity of missions that are there. And it's important, which is again to refer back to the problem with the rankings. Rankings have one definition of excellence based around research, but that's not true. So what we're looking here is that the notion of quality is broader. And why we have tended to focus primarily on teaching and learning, T&L, and research, we're increasingly looking at the capacity and capability of the institution to meet a variety of needs and demands. And we'll talk about that. So we're not just looking at the classroom. We're going to look broader. quality is beyond that. So it's capacity and capability, strategic capacity, and so on. The second issue is around performance and productivity. So this is really asking us, how well does the institution operate vis-a-vis their goals and those of society? So how well does the institution work? And here we're focusing on actual outcomes and the outputs and the benefits rather than just the process. We're not just saying, oh, you've got all these things in place. We want to know about learning outcomes and how students are doing. And we're going to also, so as I said as well, our attention has shifted also, and we're looking both to academic and the professional staff, and above all, we're looking at students. And we're asking about issues around, what do academics do all day? What are they producing through their teaching? How good is their teaching? What are the academic outcomes? We're looking at progression. We're looking at graduate employment. And as I said there in red, what people want to know is how effectively students are learning, what they're achieving, and how the personnel, the institutions, and the systems help students to succeed. It's not a question of just admitting students into your institution. The aim is to ensure that students progress successfully and succeed. And that's why the emphasis is increasingly on learning outcomes, not just on, well, we get in, look at all the students we enroll. That's not good enough. How well do they do? And thirdly, there's mention of accountability and transparency. So we've tended to, and we do within the academic community, rely on collegiality, peer review, and so on. However, one of the issues that we have is that it doesn't necessarily give us enough information, and we can't actually, we find it very hard to compare between one and another. So that becomes a bit of an issue. The other point to make up is students are a vital part of the process. So when we look at quality assurance, one of the key people are categories of people who are involved in quality assurance in the institution and at the national level and indeed internationally are students. Students and recent graduates. You'll always find them on a quality assurance panel. But also increasingly important is the participation of societal actors and third parties. Because higher education isn't just inside what goes on inside the building, it's how higher education and the universities perform for society. And so this issue of public accountability is vital. And as I said, society has a right to know whether its institutions are meeting its expectations and using its resources appropriately. So those are three really important concepts behind quality assurance. So again, to move on, there's a lot of, you can have these slides, there's a lot in it, and I don't know how much time we'll have to discuss all these issues. But I want to briefly go through some of these basic principles of quality assurance. So the first one is about governance and responsibility. And this has to do with your national agency, which has been set up and which it operates and needs to operate fully independently of the ministry and government. It doesn't go off on its own and buy cars and do whatever it thinks. No, the ministry makes policy, but the quality assurance agency needs to carry out all its quality assurance functions independently so that the decisions about quality are not a political decision, they're a quality assurance decision. The issue of providers. and provider ownership principle. Each institution is responsible for assuring that it has a quality assurance system in place, what we call internal quality assurance, or IQA. So all institutions must have their own process. And that leads us then to the next issue of quality culture. That means that each institution has to develop what's called a quality culture, where everyone working in the institution, from the secretaries and the maintenance people to the president to all the academics to the students to the researchers, all have responsibility for quality and ensuring that the institution and everything it does works to the highest standards. It's not someone's responsibility who sits in an office somewhere. It's everyone's responsibility, and we call that the principle of quality culture. And then we have the principles of learning outcomes, which I mentioned. This is that when we design programs, when we implement them, when they're evaluated, we are looking at learning outcomes. And what we mean by that is, what can students do with the knowledge they have? It's not a simple test, what do you know? But what can you do with what you know? And what can you do in terms of finding employment, opportunities, different types of engagements, and go on to live a successful life? Obviously, everyone's idea of what successful life is varies, and that's perfectly fine. But we need to ensure that the students come out of the institution with the skills and knowledge that they need. The externality principle, that the institution uses and makes use of external people, independent of the provider, independent of the institution, to help them make national and international comparisons. So these are international. You have external people. They may be international. They may be national. They may be from rest of Central Asia. But your panels for reviewing your programs should be diverse and include people outside the institution. Otherwise, it's just an insider game. Then there's the principle of continuous improvement. So it's not just a question of, we've now done a quality assurance review, we're finished for the rest of our lives, or we're finished until everyone. No, it's a process of continuous improvement, continuous monitoring, and I'll show you how that works. But so continuous improvement and looking is and monitoring and making changes is very important. Accountability, which we've mentioned before, demonstrating accountability and public value. And in fact, all the reports from your quality assurance need to be up on your websites, then whether including whatever has been said that's good, bad, or indifferent. They all need to be available. People need to know what is the quality of this institution and this program. There needs to be public confidence and trust. And international best practice, the idea that you are committed to operating and maintaining best international standards with respect to accreditation and quality assurance, that those institutions that operate in Uzbekistan operate to the highest international standard. They are accredited by the national agency, and they all have within them an internal quality assurance process. So just to say one thing about the continuous quality improvement, which is a key issue for quality assurance, that it's not a one-off. This goes again with the issue of a quality culture and so on. Okay, I need to speed up. This is what's called the PDCA, the Plan, Do, Check, Act, for a four-stage methodology. It's a planned approach with the idea of embedding a holistic approach to quality assurance. And you embed that within your strategic planning. It's a coherent strategic approach to quality improvement. And this is a diagram of it that I've put together. So your plan, you develop your educational strategy, you identify your program goals, depending on what your program is. You look at the labor market, you do foresight work that the program is relevant, that what you're teaching is relevant and up to date. It's not someone who's got their lecture notes from 15 years ago. No, everything is up to date. You engage with key stakeholders and you look at graduate outcomes. Then you introduce the program, you review it, you undertake an internal quality assurance review of that program. So you review it. You bring in people to look and say, yes, this is up to date. I think you should do this, maybe make these changes and so on. You might seek professional accreditation depending on what the program is. For example, in medicine, there'd be professional accreditation. There'd be perhaps in other fields like that. Then you introduce a new curriculum. Oh, sorry, this keeps moving on me. You introduce a new curriculum, you get feedback from the students and so on, you compare the outcomes, and then you act, you make changes, you refine the program, and this is a continuous circle of quality assurance that goes on and on. Once you finish in the program, you've implemented it, you continue to monitor it, look for new opportunities to improve it. Then you go back to planning, you review it, you look at it again. So it's a continuous process that goes on and on to make sure that your program is always up to date. We call that the plan, do, check, act cycle. So some issues to think about, and I'm going to be quite quick on this. You can look at it again. So one of the big issues we're confronting is preparing learners for the future. So how well is your program, are your programs themselves, your institution geared towards looking at the learners for the future? And the way I like to think about it is that your students now, your traditional undergraduate students, your 18-year-olds, your 20-year-olds, will live into the next century. How capable will they be to meet those challenges? So, and to also recognize that institutions are they need to become more age neutral in terms of different ages of people coming back for upskilling and reskilling, and that people will move in and out of the kind of learning environment we have in order to continually reskill. Then we've got the issue about restructuring our learning and curriculum, because one of the big issues that we talk about increasingly is about student agency. It's not students as passive individuals, it's students who are in charge of their learning and are making decisions about what they want to study and learn, and organizing our universities and the schedule to accommodate students. Not say, well, this is it and that's the end of it. Looking at curriculum design. So we're looking at competency-based education. We're looking at micro-credentials. We're looking at shorter types of programs. We're looking at ways in which we might unbundle and make programs stackable. What we call stackable and accredited credentials. We're looking at the learner experience. So we talk a lot about what's the learner experience. So is the library good? Can they get in and out of it? What about access to digital other skills? What about the whole environment of the learning? Not just what happened in your classroom, but the whole environment of it. and obviously the use of AI and other technologies. We also look at the issue of what's called place-based transformative research and innovation. The idea that we're looking, yes, at innovation parks and startups, but we're also looking at more than science-based technology. And one of the biggest is social innovation. That's innovation which occurs in daily life, where most innovation takes place. We talk a lot about what happens in the big tech companies, but a lot of that is how we adapt it, those technologies to meet different purposes or different new ways of organizing services, new ways of organizing ourselves, things that we do. And so that issue of looking at the way in which innovation is attached, so we look at research and innovation and those kinds of issues as well. And finally, we look at the issue of societal engagement. And my drawing here is that we talk about sometimes engagement or societal engagement is referred to as the third mission of higher education, as if there are three different parallels. I refer to look at engagement as embedded as a horizontal, embedded in teaching and research. And that has a lot to do with how you then think about your teaching. Are students working on real life issues? Are they engaged with real life problems? Is the research engaged with real life problems and challenges in Uzbekistan? So it's about how the society engages across the board with its societal partners, again, in a holistic manner across embedded in everything that the university does. So here is what I would call, here's an idea of a quality framework, of which there's 6 dimensions in which we look at, oh, this is annoying me, sorry, governance and leadership and overall capacity. We look at staff, students, and facilities and support. We look at teaching, learning, and assessment. We look at research, innovation, and knowledge transfer. We look at collaboration, networks, and so on. And we look at societal engagement, impact, and benefit. And across all these areas, we look to see that what we're talking about is quality. So we might have a quality assessment of an educational program, but we might also have quality assessment of our library and our student services. And look at them. How well do the student services support students? Or are people just in their offices? How well is the whole environment of the university working on behalf of the learner? So as I said, we're looking increasingly at these issues. Educational quality used to refer to things around teaching and learning, but now increasingly it refers to the capacity and capability of the institution to meet a variety of needs. And so finally, just looking at embedding quality assurance into strategic planning. And this probably is a bit complex to just run through very quickly. But here, what I'm saying is you're looking at your university's mission, vision, and values, and its relevance to the national and regional needs, disciplines, your strategic drivers. Sorry, this is annoying. Guiding principles, then you're doing a situational analysis when you do your strategy. I'm doing a strategy at the moment for a research institute. So we're going to do a situation. What's going on? What are the global trends? What's happening? We do a SWOT analysis. You have stakeholder engagement. You set out your strategic goals, what they are, what type of institution you are. and then you integrate your quality assurance into it, your PDCA cycle that we just discussed. It fits into the same cycle of review. Your cycle of operational planning and implementation, how you're going to implement your new strategy, how you monitor it. Again, it's inbuilt in the quality assurance system, needs to be built into this, and how communication and change management. So everyone understands the direction of where things are and what's going on. So that is a very quick rundown of looking at some of those issues around quality assurance and trying to embed it within your own strategic planning process. Indeed, that whole strategic planning process at a national level is the same process, embedding the quality assurance cycles into your national strategic planning for higher education. So maybe we have a few minutes maybe to take any questions or chat that's there or someone wants to ask.
Okay, thank you so much, exactly, Ellen, for really clear and thought-provoking, yes, ideas. And do we have some questions in the chat? Let us look. So please, if you have the questions, you can raise your hand. Please click the button and you can raise your hand. Okay, so we have the question. Okay, so the question, how exactly can holistic quality assurance balance national educational priorities with the Bologna process requirements without turning qualification frameworks into a purely formal compliance tool? Okay.
Yes.
It's sophisticated.
Yes. No, that's always a good question, because one of the arguments or criticisms of quality assurance is that it's very process oriented. And yes, there are certain processes, but the point is that if you embed it in everything you do, it becomes part of walking and sleeping and walking and eating, as opposed to something, oh no, now we have to do this. So it is a question of making sure that you are always looking at these issues about quality assurance, and to also remember that it is a way of which you're always thinking about the courses you have, how you can improve them, the way to ensure that students have a say. A key voice is talking to your students, involving them in the quality assurance process, because they have things to say. And they say, that was a great program, but I learned nothing. Or the teacher never allowed me to come in, or we didn't do anything that was of relevance to the job I took on. So it's important that it doesn't become just a formal compliance tool. In fact, the emphasis is on improvement, not compliance. Then there's another question here. Most common...
Second question, yes. The most common systematic challenge countries face when aligning national qualification frameworks with Bologna principles, and which of them are often underestimated at the policy level?
Okay, can we hold that question to the next session? Because we're now going to look at qualifications frameworks.
Okay, so in that case, let me briefly highlight some few core ideas which are particularly important for our discussion today, which was being represented by Ellen. Yes, today. First, the keynote clearly demonstrates that quality assurance is no longer a technical and compliance-driven process. It is a strategic instrument that shapes national credibility, international trust, talent mobility, and investment attractiveness. You can see it in Ellen's presentation. As highlighted through UNESCO's definition, quality assurance must balance accountability and continuous improvement rather than focusing on rankings on formal process alone. And the second, Professor Allen strongly situates quality insurance within global structural chains. It is a technological transformation, demographic shifts, green transition, and some geopolitical uncertainty. And I really like especially these basic principles of quality assurance, which were being restated in your presentation. It is a governance and responsibility principle, quality culture term. Right now, quality culture we can hear many times in some, let's say, national priority reforms, symposiums, workshops, yes. But before like 3 years, we do not use that term, like a quality culture. Yes, it was being integrated right now in quality assurance, because quality assurance now, it is not a document, it is not a checklist, it is a national priority. And exactly, quality culture, it is inseparable part of quality insurance. It's really also important, yes, in our higher educational landscape. Then Ellen also restated some quality frameworks that it was being stood on 7 pillars, yes, and you can see it in presentation how exactly university mission was being enumerated. And she highlighted university's third mission, how exactly university can be can impact societal engagement, yes, how university can play really crucial role in governance structure, in societal impact as well. So also really impressive the presentation where exactly there was a 4 scripts, like a plan, act, do, check, yes. So I think this keynote, yes, provides a holistic framework showing the strategic vision, quality assurance, qualification frameworks, societal engagement. It should like function as one integrated system. And right now, Uzbekistan exactly should go in alignment with that 4 crucial key terms, which was being mentioned by Ellen. And I think it is really powerful foundation for our panel discussion and our workshop today, because we will turn to our session keynote second. Ellen, how exactly we will do? You will present this keynote, then we will start panel discussion.
Yeah, let's do that. I will just say a few things. I've got all these presentations you can circulate.
Okay.
And because we're not going to get enough time to go through everything in detail.
Okay.
And have a panel discussion. We have half an hour for this.
It will be really quick, yes.
Yeah, so I'll try and I'll be very quick, and then we'll all be very quick.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just put this up, and then you can at least see what's here. And okay, so I just wanted to say something about the qualifications framework and the degree structure under Bologna. And I won't say any more about the Bologna process because I think it gets very complicated. Uzbekistan isn't a formal member at the moment, but is certainly following and aligning itself with Bologna. And this is a range of different bodies and organizations, how it works. The main things about Bologna is that it was introduced to give a common degree structure. Different countries had different. The one thing about universities is, and higher education, is it's fairly internationally common. You have an undergraduate bachelor degree, you have a master's degree, and you have a doctoral degree. Different countries you sometimes called things by different names, sometimes had different lengths, sometimes had different ways of operating. Bologna tries to make this a single framework where everyone broadly follows the same 3-cycle system: BA, MA, and doctorate. And so it's comparable, it's transferable, everyone knows what you're talking about. The qualifications framework is a framework that attempts to describe how all the qualifications in a country fit together. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like. But it attempts to say what should be the outcomes for a bachelor's degree, what should be the accepted outcomes for a master's degree. So it ensures, again, transparency and comparability. Other aspects of it, and these are some of the issues that I think that are coming up in the questions, is for each year. So an undergraduate degree is generally 3 or 4 years. In Ireland, we have some institutions that have some 3-year degrees and other 4-year degrees, but broadly, they're 3 or 4-year degrees. Okay, each year has 60 credits. Each year equals 60 credits. So at the end of it, you graduate with 240 or 180 credits. And those credits are divided across the different modules or subject areas. You have the quality assurance. The way the quality assurance works is its reference point is what's called the European Standards and Guidelines. And it's these kinds of issues that seem very complicated, but actually once you understand it, it's straightforward. So here's the cycle. Straightforward. Your bachelor degree, as I said, it's 3 to 4 years, basic fundamental knowledge. Then your master's degree, 1 to 2 years, and your doctorate. So you may have, in my institution, we had, by and large, 4-year undergraduate degrees and a full 1-year master's degree. So it would be 12 months. But you could have a 2-year master's degree. But it's also to make sure these are all consistent. A doctorate generally, however long it takes, usually 3 to 4 years, but you know yourself that some doctoral people are studying their doctorate for more years than that. And then I definitely won't go into this, but here is a Bologna cycle, and it refers to the learning outcome descriptors. What should students know when they finish that program? They should have, for example, they should have an advanced knowledge of the work of the study involving critical theories and principles. They should have advanced skills, and they should have the responsibility. They should know how to do stuff, do things with it, and be able to manage. So this is just a broad list of what are these learning outcome descriptors. And yes, they would be particular for whatever the course is. If it's medicine or but these are the broad areas. If it's medicine or if it's social science or you're studying literature, they have more precise ones. But broadly speaking, that's the generic outcomes, what you want to ensure that the student knows. The European Qualifications Framework. Oh, crikeys. Here, EQF, European Qualifications Framework. It defines each level of the education cycle from primary to doctoral. It's a 1 to 8. There are 8 levels in the European Qualifications Framework. And the aim is, and this is the Uzbekistan, aligns with the European Qualifications Framework. As an example, which I didn't do, here's an example of how they line up. So we've got, in fact, ISCED over here is UNESCO. It's the International Standards of Classifications of Education. That's UNESCO framework. And you notice there, again, it's 8. It's got 0 being early childhood education. But they line up across the board as to how you line up these programs. So depending what you're doing, you have this is your framework. This is Ireland's framework. We have 10 levels to it, but they still line up. And so you look at at how that lines up as to what is a level. Our level 6 is equivalent to your level 5. And they line up so that we can tell exactly what is happening, what level course you have, and for international comparability. And that's particularly important when you're enrolling students who are coming into a bachelor's program. Have they met the basic requirements? And do they, on graduation for an employer, do they meet the basic requirements? And again, here is a quality assurance process. Just to give you where it fits in, you've got the IQA, that's your institution, doing continuous monitoring. You've got your external, I'm going to throw this out soon. External quality assurance, your national agency, the European review, this is ENQA, which conducts a review of all all national agencies. So every national agency across the European higher education area is itself reviewed externally to see that its processes meet international standards. And all these registered and accredited programs and agencies are listed on what's called ECAR. ECAR is a European Quality Assurance Register. So anyone can look up on ECAR whether or not the program or the institution is accredited. And that's very important given the amount of fraud that operates in this space internationally. So just to say, again, on the quality assurance, there's 3 components. One is institutional accreditation. One is institutional accreditation, that's of the whole institution. Then there's program accreditation. Each program should be reviewed and accredited so that we know so that you're satisfied that the quality of the program, the level of the program meets the qualifications framework and the appropriate learning outcomes. And thirdly, internal quality assurance, so that you've got a process within each institution that continually reviews what's going on. Here is the European Standards and Guidelines. This is the basic document that sets out the process for quality assurance. It's currently being reviewed. This is the 2015 version, and it is currently being reviewed and due up in 27. And here again is a process for embedding. The question was about how to embed alignment with Bologna with your programs. And so here is a suggested way of a framework for doing exactly that. Looking at the key principles of the European Qualifications Framework, looking at who's doing what, sharing around the responsibilities between your academic board, your program teams, the quality assurance, revising your teaching and learning assessment, looking at the learning outcomes. There was a question about how do we look at learning outcomes? The question is not the specific. You're not looking at they need to know this fact, but it's the level, it's the higher level. They need to be able to understand and question critical theories. They need to be able to interpret and discuss the basic principles of whatever it is. Review the workload and assign the number of credits. Some courses are more difficult, you give them more credits to it. But remember, there's 60 credits over the year. each year. Then you get your mapping. You have an external quality assurance review. You review your program with people from outside the institution. You implement it and make changes as it goes, and continuous monitoring. You embed the four process PDCA process at the institution and at the faculty level. So there's a framework that you can adapt to your needs and how that works. So that's a very quick. Here you go, Nazia, and I'll finish there.
Thank you so much, Ellen, yes, for this clear and highly structured overview of qualification frameworks and degree structures under Bologna process. So, exactly in the meeting, we have many vice rectors of international affairs, science and innovation, some head of department, which are exactly responsible for that problem, and some professors who are not indifferent for that also topic. That's why I think it is really beneficial for all of us. And we have also our expert, yes, it is Dr. Professor Habibullah Kianosirov, yes, head of department for implementing expert analytical services of the Republican Scientific Methodological Center for the Development of Education, yes, higher education reform expert, our leader, yes. And can we start our panel discussion with exactly insights of our expert? Habibullah, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hello again. And thank you, Ellen, for the great information and the insights from your side. Of course, we are trying to be aligned with Bologna process. And as you know, we have also all levels of Bologna as the bachelor, master, and PhD, and also some additional Doctor of Science levels. And years of the study is also aligned with Bologna. So it's like 3 to 4 years. But it's not very common with 3-year bachelor, because we still forcing to be 4-year for engineering parts. But even in France, in Europe, they have 5-year still engineering. So it also fits. Of course, we are trying, but there are still some common misunderstandings or some, I would say, problems that we should also mark that even in Bologna, we still have the problems with recognition of qualifications and transfer and credit transfer remain. That it always asks us some additional agreements, that there is no still automatic recognition systems. And we are, as here, when the sphere is organizing some study visits, there is always this question appears about automatic recognition of the study outcomes. But I have some even asks from your side. How do you think that, we are starting in Central Asia as the first of the countries that recognition is coming, but what do you think about how our colleagues from Europe, they will recognize the learning outcomes from our side? That we are recognizing there is no problem, you know that we are just always welcome our colleagues who studied there, and we are always welcome to hire them. But it should be also vice versa. We will be also very happy that our guys will go there and got some experience of work. Of course, we still will wait them to come and develop our industry also. But I would really ask you to give your insights. How do you think about that? How it will be just going on? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I could answer that. So just let me start with your first point on the program alignment, 3 and 4 years. Yes, I mean, I mentioned we've got universities here that some have 3-year programs and some have 4. It doesn't matter, 3 and 4. You're broadly, it's just basically making sure that the student finishes an undergraduate and then continues. And yes, engineering in some places is still 5. Theoretically, I think they're supposed to finish it at year 4, so what's called an exit award, and then they go on for another year. And that's so that the student exits with a qualification that's meaningful and not so that's what's important there. The credit transfer, particularly for mobility, is what I think you're asking, in recognition of credits. And yeah, that is increasingly an important area. It has to do with confidence in the quality assurance system, and I expect it also has to do with confidence in the learning outcomes. In other words, can the students do what you say they can do, or do they know what you say they know at the level they're at? And some of that is building trust at a personal level, institutional collaboration, institutional meeting, so that people get to know each other, and there's a commonality. I mean, there may not, but in that sort of way, how do they recognize it? Well, first of all, the most important is that the institution itself is accredited and quality assured by the national agency. That that there is a process, and that that it's all clear and transparent, and that how the credits are identified, and so on. Credit transfer is, I think, the key to the future. As what I would call it, credit accumulation and transfer, because I think over time, and I don't mean long decades, I mean years, we will be looking at students being able to what are called stackable programs, where they can take programs, take several courses, get the credits for that. Maybe they're sick, maybe they move, maybe they have to look after family, maybe they go and work, and then they come back and they have credits and they build on top of it. And so I think we're going to move a lot more in that direction. It's not dissimilar to what operates in the US, but as a national built-in principle, this idea of credit transfer. So the credits are very important. It also means that students can graduate with something, but they need to be recognized by your partner institutions. And I would make sure that that was well sorted out before students traveled.
Yeah, thank you. And also 2 more moments that on recognition, we are trying to make like for Central Asia first. Of course, it would be very difficult to reach European level and global level. But for now, it's our ministries from Kazakhstan and ours and some Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, we are trying to make our own recognition system that we will be try to make some automated system for recognition of learning outcomes. And another thing that we are also trying to make for more alignment, I mean, it's even before the bachelor, that the level of I mean, not level, but the years of the education on schools, it's coming to be 12 years. Do you know that or not? So from the next years, we are trying to make it again more closer to European standards, and we are taking from the preschool education 1 year, and it would be like 0 to what we have now, like 11 years, and it will become like first, and then we'll have again 12-year education that will allow our guys to directly submit their applications for the universities in Europe. Because before it was asked 1 year foundation to fulfill the 12 years. It was some additional information.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. particularly as you see on the qualifications framework, they do start early. It's the entire system. And what's increasingly important is that TVET is also in the system. And I put up the ISCED because that's UNESCO, but that is the international framework that has been there. On your second point, on our maybe your first point about the region and Central Asia and recognition, it's worth looking at the regional networks, the UNESCO regional networks, because that's exactly what they're doing. So, I mean, arguably, that's exactly where the EU started off. It was a regional thing. It is now wider. But one region that I have found really impressive is Asia Pacific and the region there, where they are doing exactly that. Sharing, I can give you people to liaise with, but they're doing exactly that. A common qualifications framework, recognition of each other's programs, recognition for mobility, and exactly what you're saying there. And that's very important. These regional, and in fact, there are regional. I mentioned the UNESCO Global Convention, but there are regional conventions. So the EU has what's called the Lisbon Convention. Then there's the Caracas Convention for South America and the Caribbean, and so on. So, and the Tokyo Convention for Asia. So, yes, there are regional conventions and there's the global convention. But the regional networks, I would recommend liaising with them and seeing how they've done this. That would be good experience and partnership.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you so much, Habibullah. Yeah, exactly. I also agree that qualification framework, so without quality assurance, it will remain as a formal document. Yes, that's why exactly right now in Uzbekistan, we have like two phases. The first one, we are doing internal quality assurance. It becomes like a real management tool inside universities. And the second one, it is external one. Also, the number are being enhanced because it leads to transparency, accountability, which exactly Ellen mentioned, yes? And also, I would like to speak about the misconception that European credit transfer system often see that it's like a credit counting system, yes? But as we hear you, it is not only about counting hours, it is about recognizing learning, yes?
Yeah.
And in Uzbekistan, it can serve us as a flexible tool, firstly for support mobility, then recognize some prior learning. And also it can serve as an interdisciplinary pathway, yes, to start, to enable to do it, and gradually introduce some new topic. It is a micro-credential and lifelong learning. We have some special terms on that specific topic, yes. It was being integrated in some specific technical universities, information technologies universities, but also it also be a great support to gradually introduce this topic, yes. And also one more thing, how Bologna aligned exactly degree structures, they can remain as a nationally relevant to our in our national context, because for many people, while exactly I'm participating in some seminars, workshops, yes, they have a misconception and prejudice that it means it can lead to losing national identity, national context of in Uzbekistan landscape in higher education. But it doesn't mean standardization. It doesn't mean, and it does not lead to lose it. Yes, because as you had shown it in your presentation, step by step, it is it only provides structure, not content. Because firstly, it is a structure. And that's why I think in our Uzbekistan national context, we should take into consideration, firstly, local labor market needs. Firstly, they should be embedding. Then addressing some regional development priorities. We have that priorities like a bridge between academia and labor market needs. Right now, it's really high priority. In technical assistant mission, where exactly you have spoken about rankings, we spoke about that problem. It is a priority nowadays. Then we should integrate our language, let's say, culture, societal values to curriculum as well. Yes, and also the most important thing, we should align some programs to national development strategies. We have some representatives from Ministry of Science, Higher Education, Science and Innovation, and some agencies. I think for them also they can also confirm this opinion, because you here highlighted 3 cycles. Yes, European credit transfer system, quality assurance, and it was a learning outcomes. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, because it goes to express this national relevance really clear. And if our audience, you have some questions, some feedback, or you want to discuss, to give your insights, also welcome, because panel discussion is open for all. You can speak Uzbek, we can translate, doesn't matter, Russian also. Please be active, yes. You can raise your hand, press the button.
Shout.
Yes, or shout, yes. We have a message. We have, do you remember we have one exactly message? You told that we will discuss it in our second keynote about what are most common systematic challenges countries face when aligning national qualification frameworks with Bologna principles, and which of them are underestimated, yes, at policy level.
There is also another question from Zumrat.
Okay. So we have our higher education reform expert from Samarkand, Zumrat Opa.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, dear colleagues. Assalamu alaikum, participant. Hi, Professor Hazelcon. It's a great pleasure to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. We are very grateful for your insightful presentation for today. As usual, thank you very much. As we know, within the Bologna process, the European standard and guidelines with your presentation previous and related transparency tools such as ECTS, the diploma supplement emphasize enhancement in quality assurance, institutional responsibility, and comparability based on learning outcomes rather than reputational metrics. Again, as a background, there is a growing recognition that global ranking offer only a partial and sometimes misaligned pictures of quality in the EHA context. My question is, how can universities reduce over-reliance on global ranking while remaining aligned with ECGA principles and maintaining meaningful international comparability within the EHA, and which indicators or Bologna tools do you consider most effective in capturing the European dimensions of quality beyond rankings? Thank you.
Well, there's a really tough question. Well, I mean, I expect it's fair enough to say that from the very beginning, it's very quality assurance and rankings are 2 completely different systems. Rankings measures everyone according to one standard, which is primarily quality assurance is recognizing that there is great diversity. It goes back to the previous points about recognizing how do you align Bologna to national Uzbekistan or Central Asian values and national priorities and so on. That's what quality assurance does. That's not what rankings do. They measure everyone according to Harvard. No, that we're not all Harvard, and we're never going to be that. We have other missions and values. So they're completely different. It will be hard ever to arguably get rid of rankings. But quality assurance, the important thing here is that the institution itself is accredited and recognized by the government and the national agencies. So what that means is that, and that's why I refer to ECAR, which is the European Quality Assurance Register. So once you are recognized by your government as an accredited institution, you could say, they're accredited. I can have trust in them. But that's also why your national agency has to be reviewed. So, for example, I've just set up an accreditation system for St. Kitts and Nevis, which is in the Caribbean, for a national accreditation system to do exactly that, to say these institutions are recognized and accredited and can operate here, and we stand over that. And so that's important from your students and everyone else's point of view. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as you mentioned, the issue of that came up about different the issue of embedding national principles in it, and you mentioned the ESG and so on. They're broad frameworks. I like the concept. They are about a structure to doing things. They're not about the content. So the process is not about taking away basic values and mission statements or national priorities of what Uzbekistan is doing. We all have our national priorities, but it's to set it into an international comparative framework. So that we can talk to each other and we're talking the same language. And I think that's important. I think I missed some other point that you made. Sorry if I did. Did you want to?
Which indicators of biological tools do you consider most effective?
Oh, well, I think they're all part of a system. I think the important thing is when you're looking at the quality assurance, it's not compliance. So there's not a checklist which is generally based on inputs. You've got X number of chairs, you've got a library, you've got this, you've got a list of things. And then you go through and they're ticked off, and then that equals quality. This focus completely, as I said, on learning outcomes. So it's broadly on looking at the learning experience, the learning outcomes, and the quality as a holistic approach to it. So what do I think are the most important? I think it's important that each institution takes a holistic view, that it looks to align their programs very clearly with and ensure that all their programs are accredited so that you can stand over them. And that does have to do with recognition across the region, but internationally.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Professor.
Thank you so much, yes, for really interesting continuation of our panel discussion. Yes, right now we have the other, it seems, no questions, yes? Do we have something in chat? No? Okay. So in that case, we can turn to the third part, yes? To the
Okay.
session keynote, and it is about strategic use of data for continuous improvement. So please, the floor is yours again, Alan.
Okay. Well, and if anyone wants, we can go back over any of the slides that I had to go through very quickly. Okay, so this is looking at data. Data. The one thing you've been talking about rankings, the one thing that's clear and that has had and is having an increasing impact on quality assurance is one of the issue that you've raised about comparability. It's very difficult to we've learned about international comparability with rankings, and the other thing we've learned about is the strategic use of data. And so that has been certainly something that we've now increasingly taking on board. But I also put up this warning advisory note from Einstein. And that is, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So just because you're counting things doesn't mean, to use my term, that it's meaningful or that you've counted the right things. And so it's not just a question of seeing the data out there and saying, oh, right, we'll count that, we'll count that, we'll count that. The question is it meaningful? And is it going to help us and what we need to know and to understand? So I think it's always important to keep this note of Einstein's in front of you when you look at data. So the first thing is why do information and data systems matter? So they matter at both a national level and at an institutional level. Indeed, the national level can't operate without a good institutional level. And good, as I said, good strategic management of the higher education system and its institutions relies on having a reliable management information system overseen by government and utilized by all the institutions. You all have to be speaking the same language, the same terms, the same concepts, looking at the same things. It's what you call a higher education management information system, or HEMIS for short. A process, and this is where it also becomes tricky because some of the data points aren't necessarily quantitative, they may be qualitative about the system. Hence comes in the issues around quality assurance or peer review. But the system, you need a national system for collecting, processing, analyzing, and reporting on data and helping you plan for the future. So that's why it's vitally important. You can't make decisions unless you know what's going on. So what's the importance? So setting priorities based on evidence. So I was vice president of research, and I used to have lots of researchers would come to me and tell me that my work is excellent. I'd say, well, how do you know? Oh, I know. I just know it's excellent. But we're going beyond what I call self-declaration to external verification. It is the idea that we've got evidence-based decision making. So, and these are just examples. Demand and enrollment trends, looking at the labor market, not just looking at it today, but what is that? What are those? What's foresight? What's going to be happening in the next 10 years or so? Looking ahead, because remember, your students will take 4 years or so to complete their undergraduate and degree and may go on. By the time they graduate, the world has changed again. So they need to that's why we're looking at ability to think and to question and critical thinking and these. So we're looking ahead. So what are those trends? Understanding what the data tells us is understanding how the system is performing and meeting its objectives or meeting national objectives. Looking at how are we allocating resources appropriately, efficiently, and effectively? Are they going in the right places? Do they align with our national strategy? Do they align with our institution strategy? They can be different things. As I said, forecasting future demand. Aiding compliance. There are compliance issues, legal compliance issues. Avoiding risk. Identifying risk is vital. Something I used to think was terribly boring when I was a vice president, but it's fundamental. Understanding what are the likely risks ahead. And they can be financial, but sustainability, they could be student, they could be demographic changes. And you don't know all these risks. But just think how geopolitical changes recently have upended all kinds of things. It supports student choice. Having the data. Students want to know what happens to the graduates from your university. What happens from to the graduates from this course? Do they actually find employment? Where do they find employment? And at what level? And also issues around benchmarking, cross-national comparisons, looking at other countries, institutions of similar missions, and so on. I mean, these are just some ideas of why the data is vital. So, as I said, the importance of data and evidence-based decision-making, the legacy of rankings has made this more and more apparent that we need publicly available, meaningful, I stress the word meaningful, comparative information about institutions and institutional performance. And for government, you need to know how the system is working. Is the compilation of all collectively of all your institutions, are they producing as a whole the graduates you need across and for the society as a whole? Yes, each institution is contributing to that, but is it as a whole? So it's important to make quality assurance more transparent, and as I said, it's important for public support. So measuring it, so what do people want to know? When you're looking at data, what do people want to know about your institutions? Well, they want to know, as I said, about teaching and learning. Oh, that shouldn't be a percentage. That's an error. Student learning, the culture and the experience. They want to know about the levels and fields of specialization, the level of expertise, quality, and competence. They want to know, as I said, about graduate expectations. So if I take this, what am I going to be able to do? What can I expect? Broadly, what kind of important as it is and questionable about meaningfulness, it's salary, the employability trends. They want to know about the quality of the faculty, the people who are doing the teaching. Do they know stuff? If you're teaching in a practical area, engineering, medicine, business, do these people actually have experience, or are they only recounting from a textbook? And if they have experience, when is that? Was that, 10, 15 years ago? The world has changed. What's the relevant experience? The research capacity. Doctoral education, people want to know about that. Performance benchmarked nationally and regionally, and so on. So these are just a broad idea. What do people want to know? They want to know how that institution is functioning and how well it's doing its job. So do we measure what we value? This is always a big question. Do we measure what we value, or do we value what we measure? In other words, one of the things that is always a problem when we look at indicators is that indicators often become a target as opposed to an area of measure. So it's what are we measuring what's important, or is it because we measure it that it becomes important? And so here I'm looking at, when you're looking at what you're setting up, is what's the question? What's the problem? What are you trying to achieve? Oh, sorry. What are you trying to achieve? What's your mission? What's your outcomes? I don't mean specific numbers, but what are you trying to achieve? Fit for purpose of the indicators. Oh. And understanding the pros and cons. So I circulated a paper which talks about loads of indicators. And it relies on the literature to tell you some of the arguments about the plus and minuses. Everything has a plus and minus. There's no indicator, there's no set of data that doesn't have challenges. So the question is, what are the ones, you pick the things you're measuring based upon what's important and meaningful, but knowing also the shortcomings. I think it's always important to know. So, for example, on student performance, we often look at what's the challenge is what's called, when we're looking at universities and we're saying, gosh, they've got all their graduates are doing really well. They've got the best graduates. What's important is what we take account of what's called pre-college characteristics. So has the university contributed to the student, or was the student already in the top 5% in the country when you you enrolled them? So are you measuring pre-entry characteristics, and failure to control for pre-college characteristics could result in reporting attributing things to institutional effects when they're really differences of social class. And that's a really important distinction. The other thing we often look at, and I've got verses, because there's different things you're measuring there, is learning gain. So have students learn something more than they came in with. And how do you assess learning gain? Very tricky. There's no set formulas for these things, but there's things to keep in mind. What's the added value that the institution has contributed to the students' learning outcomes? Or is it just the classroom? So I point this out so that there's a clarity about what exactly are you seeking to collect information about. Are you looking at student satisfaction surveys, which are common? Did you like this course? Did you like this teacher? Did you like the way it was taught? And they're very poor. The literature around satisfaction surveys is very poor. And instead, there's a really good survey, and yes, there are others called the Student Engagement Survey, developed in the US. It's the National Survey of Student Engagement. It operates now in many countries. Ireland is one, Australia is another, and so on. But it begins to look at what is a student doing in the classroom, in the school, about their learning. Are you contributing? Have you been asked to lead a discussion? Have you worked as parts of teams? Have you worked on problem solving? What kinds of so it's getting into the kind of learning engaged student experience. What kind of students are you measuring? Are you looking at the graduation rate? How many students graduate, or the time they took them to complete? Different issues. Are you looking at employability? How are the students employable? Or are you just looking at how many have a job? And if you're looking at just how many have a job, you don't know if it's at the appropriate level. Are they underemployed? Are they overemployed? Is there a misalignment between what they're doing and what they studied? And so on. And then there's a tendency, and this is a real problem on the ranking side, is measuring the student-teacher ratio. It's completely meaningless. The OECD will tell you it's meaningless. It's not necessarily the number of students in the classroom, although obviously large sizes can be a problem, but it's how the learning and teaching is carried out. So on that, I put that out to just indicate to you that what you're looking at in information is not necessarily straightforward. And you might have a look at that paper I circulated. Similarly, when you look at research, what are you measuring? What are you counting? Are you looking at citation counts, which is seen to be now hugely problematic? Because it only counts how many times people report, reference what you said. But you might have said a falsehood, and that's why you're being reported. Or you've got people referencing themselves all the time. And so this issue of, then we've got journal impact factors. The GIF, is that a reputational value and the whole issue around journals. So, are we talking about technology transfer or knowledge transfer? Are we talking about past performance or potential? Are we looking at papers that have national or international significance? We often look at collaboration. But are you looking at collaboration with SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, a small business in your own country, or are you looking at partnerships, halfway around the world? Good, but what about your own country? Another problem you've got is many journals, and all those journals, citation counts and elsewhere, count only articles in English. What about the local language? What about issues that relate to yourselves? So lots of issues on research. This is my little diagram, which differs. In other words, what I'm trying to show you here is this is what tends to be measured, peer-reviewed journal articles. But all these things are what people do. Oh, sorry. Yeah, all these things, so which aren't counted, hard to count. Book chapters, computer software, databases, editing major works, major artworks, legal cases, patents, plant breeding rights if you're in agriculture, technical reports, translations, visual recordings. None of that's counted, and yet it's vitally important for certain disciplines, for certain types of institutions, and besides that, it shows you the breadth of outputs. It's not just research articles that people do. And on the other hand, peer esteem. So that's measured generally in terms of citations and stuff like that. But look at all these other things that are as important, if not more. Impact on teaching, increased employment, the impact on people's health and quality of life, universities as key thought providers for society, leading discussions. How can you possibly count the research that went in about tobacco and cigarettes, and now its impact on people's life and quality of life? But that's an impact decades it's taken to show and be relevant. So all these kinds of issues aren't counted, hard to count, but yet are as important, if not much more important. And again, it comes back to the question, be careful what you're counting and make sure what you're counting is important and you're getting at the whole picture. And likewise around societal engagement, issues of what you're measuring, wider contribution, as I said, to society, not just to the economy. And what I mean by this is the arts, cultural industries, engagement with civil society, helping NGOs, working with local communities, improving housing. All these kinds of issues are important, come out also in the SDGs, but be careful that you don't engage in SDG washing. In other words, it's just a slogan. So these are some of the issues around data and also to be careful about. So data governance is important. How it refers to the whole system, the structure, the processes, the standards of what you're collecting. And a good data system at a national level, it should be operated, supervised by government. in order that you've got a national system. Now, I'm not saying it may be the ministry directly or an agency of the ministry, but it need to ensure it's public and private institutions, to ensure its integrity, and it's national. You have a clarity and agreement, as I said, about the key data points. So a national dashboard is agreed, well described, and data definitions. You're aligning meaningful data, well aligned. The capability to underpin the ongoing work of the institutions, and you've got a secure digital platform. Some aspects of a well-integrated HEMIS, Higher Education Management Information System, includes a student record system, information on all your students, providing the full life cycle, what we call the life cycle of the student, from entry through to career. So the full life cycle information following up. You have a national system for graduate tracking. Some countries have this linked to a tax system. You have a student, graduate, and employer feedback system. Again, is it a meaningful set of questions and process? A comprehensive record of staff. Issues around research, development, and innovation activities, outcomes, and impact. Their higher education services, what's provided, what do they do? Financial information, vital, particularly on institutions dependent on students or tuition fees. Issues of sustainability are vital. You need to be risk management, absolutely vital. And services to society. So a well-integrated system. So I'm not going to go through this. I just refer to Finland, that has a very comprehensive system. They've got a high level of trust, publicly available data. All the data is publicly available, includes all fulsome information, and every night the data is transferred automatically from the institution to the ministry. So a single system. And it operates and is linked to the different types and used for funding and performance assessment for different types of institutions. So they're universities of applied sciences and they're universities, two different models, but an interesting approach to it. Ireland has a less developed system. It has a student record system, which is the first. It's got all the data is available online. You can go dive into the data and look at it yourself. Performance indicators. It carries out a survey of student engagement, which is the one I mentioned earlier, a graduate outcome survey, and an employer survey. And that information is all available online. And there's a process of performance agreements that the institutions agree with the government. And here's Estonia, which is well worth looking at because it's probably the most advanced of a country. Yes, it's very small. I think there's under less than 2 million people, but it's an entirely digital country. It's e-Estonia. Everything is digital and online. It's got its Estonia Education Information System. I'll give you an example here. A central database for all education levels, tracking, higher education skills, access by everyone to that system. So that's Estonia, worth looking at. Just something to say then about benchmarking, which I would urge that if you want to improve performance or enhance outcomes or improve graduates, I'd suggest benchmarking, not rankings. It's not a question of going into rankings and saying, oh, they get higher than us. How can we do that? It's really benchmarking. and looking at institutions that are similar to each institution, rather than just picking them off a ranking sheet. So, and here's a whole a table just giving you the differences between rankings and benchmarking as to why you might choose benchmarking instead. And I go back to that six-dimensional framework that I mentioned at the very beginning as how you might look at your quality framework. So again, a very quick run through of those issues there.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for really comprehensive and highly relevant keynote on the strategic use exactly of data in higher education governance and quality assurance. I would like to highlight several key messages from your keynote, which exactly are essentially important for our national context and for our institutional leaders who are like right now here in Zoom seminar. First, the keynote makes it very clear that data, it is not end in itself. Yes, you highlighted, I really like the quotation by Einstein, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. Yes.
Yes.
So the value of data here lies in how exactly it is used to support strategic decision-making, quality improvement, quality assurance, public trust, not simply in collecting indicators or producing some reports, official one. Second, exactly, you really emphasized the importance of integrated higher education data systems, such as national education management information. And the reliable, coherent data is really important for government and universities to set priority, to set up the roadmap, allocate resources effectively, manage risks, understand performance of both system and institutional level, like a micro and macro level. This message is particularly relevant for Uzbekistan. Why? Because we continue to modernize governance. Yes, digitalization process. We have a special right now a strategy. Yes, till 2030. And exactly, I think 3 or 4 days before, there was a meeting with rectors, with vice rectors about integration of AI in educational landscape. It is like a logical continuation of this strategy. And thirdly, exactly, a really balanced approach about rankings and performance indicators. So also in our higher educational reform experts annual conference, I made a speech about quality assurance and what exactly makes the best university. And here also we spoke about benchmarking. It should be prevalent rather than ranking, yes? Because ranking, it can be QS, it can be Times Higher Education, it can be Arvuz, they have their own indicators, and it is not based on holistical evaluation performance, because they have their set up indicators, and not all universities can be assessed in really objective way. Let's say there are some universities which are developing their niche areas. There are some universities who have really a high quality assurance indicators, but in some international rankings, it is not a prevalent. As exactly you highlighted, most of them, they evaluate research, yes, research indicators, but not in all cases. It can be a great indicator of high quality assurance integration at university level. That's why this multi-dimensional approach of quality assurance, it is a main priority. And by doing benchmarking, you have really many questions here, and they're really relevant for all universities, whether it can be public, private, humanitarian, social, technical, doesn't matter. Yes, they're universal. That is it. What important also, good data and governance under highlighting trust between government, universities, student, employers, and society as well. Yes. because here you highlighted really key items like transparency, being ethical, well-governed data system. They strengthen accountability, support autonomy, and reinforce public confidence. That is also really important. So I also think that we should we measure what we truly value, or do we start valuing only what is easy to measure? That is important question. It should be the main also input and insight, I think, for all universities who are like participating here. Overall, exactly, I really like, especially this, because it's really close what I'm thinking as well. This strategic framework showing that data, quality assurance, and government, exactly, they should work together. Yes, and because it should go in alignment with continuous improvement, national development goals, and long-term sustainability. That is it. So thank you. And so we will go to our next part. It is a workshop, yes, where we can discuss aligning qualification frameworks and degree structures. So as Habibullah also mentioned, I also said it exactly in my at the beginning in preliminary remarks that Uzbekistan right now has undergone many transformation, yes, and so many presidential decrees, yes, like the last 7 years were being adopted. And universities also, they are flexible to adopt, to put it in their national roadmap. But still, we have some challenge. We are not official member of Bologna process, but we are integrating credit module system, learning outcomes. It was being integrated, yes. And that's why we have some challenge here. Firstly, it is in adapting some items in curriculum to national qualification frameworks. Yes, we are adapting it some items, but still there is some challenge for fully adapting this process, the mechanism. There are some gaps, or some, let's say, problems with changing and adapting also labor market needs. Yes, many universities, especially technical universities, they are doing that process. But some universities, humanitarian one, let's say, it takes so much time to adapt labor market needs in their curriculum. Yes, this process is right now in development stage, let's say. And I would like to ask audience, yes, if there are some representatives, head of departments, head of some special, let's say, divisions who are responsible for academic process, or some vice rectors, you can share your opinion here. Maybe the problem itself, the problem can be universal, not only specific to your university, at, let's say, national level. So please try to be active, because it's our time right now to share some insights and some feedback as well. Agar aynan shu jarayonda hozir ko'p narsalarni gaplashdik. Demak, 3 ta taqdimot bo'lib o'tdi. Taqdimotlarni aksariyatini mazmunida Bolonyani, demak, tamoyillarini O'zbekiston oliy ta'lim tizimiga adaptatsiya qilish to'g'risida gapirildi. Demak, buni qanday qilib holistik yondashuv asosida amalga oshirilishi mumkin. Va bu narsa amalga oshirilyapti. Aynan O'zbekiston rasmiy a'zo bo'lmasa-da, va aynan sizni universitetingizda yuqorida aytib o'tilgan muammolarni mantiqiy davomi sifatida birorta muammolar bo'lsa, bo'lishlaringiz mumkin, yoki bo'lmasa umuman oliy ta'lim tizimi sohasidagi, chunki bu yerda ekspert ilmda o'zlari bor, ulardan so'rash imkoniyati bor, bo'lishish imkonimiz bor. Okay, so I'm all ears. Yes, the floor is yours. Habibullah, maybe you will start in order to give some thought-provoking ideas to the audience.
Yes, first I would like to ask one question from Ellen. I was also waiting from the audience, but while they are thinking about the questions, Alan, what do you think? So we have our standard, like national standard on higher education, but what do you think to standardize the learning outcomes on directions? Is there such kind of any how to say experience or such kind of standards in Europe that it's like for engineering, for example, like general standard that after finishing the bachelor level or master level, the graduate should know this, or and then, for example, I don't know, the linguistics or such kind of directions. Is there any such kind of legislative documents which were adopted on this approach? Because I know that in Uzbekistan we have a very big demand on the criteria of bachelors, because we are changing many times the how to say the learning outcomes, and all universities will have independence, trying to make them more independent on academic field, on financial field. But is is it standardized in Europe, this kind of things?
Ah, yeah, tricky. So I did have this one slide. I just put it up again. Hold on. I had this one slide. Let me see. Hold on. One moment.
Yeah, I have even picture of it.
Yeah, okay. So you see how these are very general kinds of comments that operate as to what level and so on, and and it's broken down between what are called knowledge, skills, and responsibility, or learner autonomy, and so on. What ultimately I'd say is this: there's no standard per se, but yes, there are lots of examples. Indeed, you could either look around at that or have a workshop on learning outcomes, how to write learning outcomes. This was not an automatic thing that people knew how to say, oh, right, wake up one day, we now know how to write learning outcomes. No. People had to learn how to write learning outcomes because it's generally written, curricula are written from the point of view of the teacher. We're going to teach students to do X. We're going to teach them to do Y. No, learning outcomes is at the end of this, the student should be able to assess and understand what these concepts mean. Now, to some extent, you could almost generalize those for every course, and there is some generalities, but there's also specifics as to what it is, each subject and so on. But yes, it's turning it on its head as to what the teacher's doing to what the learner should be able to do at the end of it. And again, they're what do I want to say? They're general. They're not specific. It's not the learner should be able to count 2 plus 2 and get 4. No, it's not like that. It's at a so in answer to your question, yes, it's tricky. Yes, there are examples around. Yes, you could ultimately have a workshop, a hands-on workshop with people, and I would say make it hands-on as opposed to something like me talking. Do a hands-on practical workshop in which people will work through doing doing learning outcomes. But yes, there should be lots of experience around and lots of examples. It's not difficult to get hold of curricula because they should be online, or indeed with your partners to share that, or indeed, as you spoke earlier, about having a regional network and have a shared experience of it.
Yes, thank you. Why I'm raising the question about learning outcomes, because the good curricula on any direction depends on good written learning outcomes, because all curricula, even it's 3 years, 4 years, it should fulfill and just take some part from learning outcomes and cover with some subjects which also have their own learning outcomes from each subject to subject, and also they should be also harmonized. I mean, from the first year of bachelor up to the finishing graduate, or even started earlier from school time, that it should be harmonized, and up to becoming some very good specialist, it should be all levels. And if I don't know, if we could prepare such kind of very good standard, I was thinking really that it would be guideline for the universities who have autonomy to look at it and to, I don't know, to get some direction, because we have very big transformations, really. We are changing our curriculum on the basis of really good universities. Each university looking their own match university from Europe. First it was from top 1,000 universities, then top 500, then top 300. But it will not end, because the ranks, they are also changing. Each year, one university can be top 100, but next year it will just drop down because of only the publication number. And the research is not, as you also mentioning, research is not the point that will give some very good feedback from the learning outcome side. I mean, there is many examples of universities, really applied science universities, I know in Europe also, we don't have yet them, that they are not even focusing on rankings. They focused on applied problem solving of the country, of the town. But unfortunately, we don't have them. And because of this, I'm really thinking to make some such kind of what we are trying also doing with England. It's QAA, that making some quality code. But it will also be dependent on the directions. I mean, for each specialty, it should be some special learning outcomes. And that's why my question was right.
No, you're absolutely right. And it is a bit, sometimes a bit tricky to come up. And yes, you could put together a manual of that. I mean, yes, I know you have QAA working with you. The one thing you need to, I expect, you'd want to be cautious about is producing something that then looks like taking learning outcomes off the shelf for everything, where everyone's got the same. Now, having said that there is often, in some cases, in fairness, there's not a lot of difference between them. I mean, let's be absolutely honest here. But you are trying to get people to think about what it is that this, as I say, it's and increasingly this it will be more and more important. It's not what you know, but it's what you can do with what you know. And it's that kind of approach as to being able to turn that into and have the curriculum, for different programs, whether it's history or or it's engineering or it's medicine or it's the arts, creativity. They have certain outcomes. It's not that you can make, on the art side, if it's pottery or you're doing ceramics, it's not you can make a vase, but it's because it's a lot of individuals. So you're trying to get something else across out of it. On the other hand, so I ran during my years as vice president, I ran a faculty of all the arts for about 14 years. And when I started off, artwork, paintings and so on was always, people would walk into the room and say, I like that. I don't like that one. No basis of making an assessment except personal opinion. And they struggled a lot with trying to come up with what is the basis on which we're making a decision of a student assessment. And in fairness to the students, you just can't just say no. So these are parts of some of what those challenges are. But yeah, it's
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
you're very welcome. I
Thank
would
you
say
so
just
much.
one other thing that you raised about labor market needs. And yes, in some areas, one could say, yes, it's easier than in others. But again, you're looking for these broad-based skills or broad-based, well, on the knowledge side, if you divide it crudely like that, you're looking at their understanding of the subject matter broadly and how that fits in. But then you're looking at their critical thinking skills, their ability to actually engage and interpret the material and think beyond that. And those are whatever discipline, whatever opportunity or employment or whatever people go on to be an employee or an employer or self-employed or whatever, you need these kinds of skills. So they're relevant across the board, but yet some areas find it. How do you make philosophy related to the outside world? Because you're thinking about it's these important critical skills that people want more and more of.
Yeah. Also, I think we should even we as a how to say the professors should go to the stakeholders. I mean, to the companies and work. I don't know, for a month or couple to get know their needs and to formalize their this kind of input to the learning outcomes. And also, there is also big gap between our students because I know that in Europe, students' engagement on curriculum development, on the assessment of really the course is very well done. But we have very lack of it because our students, I don't know, we should teach them to be trained also that they could also influence on their, I don't know, not their maybe, but the upcoming students' life because they should also influence to that part and to give very good feedbacks that will occur that after their thoughts, the curriculum will develop very well developed. And also the same on the learning outcomes. Maybe, of course, students, they are not students forever. They will become employees, as I told, also the heads of the companies, etc. And they should also know that that they can influence to get better the curricula. We have very big lack of it. We have many questionnaires, but unfortunately, with very few comments, they are just answering, I mean, yes or no. But there
Yeah.
is no really good influence.
Well, so
How
that's
we can do it?
yeah. Well, those are all really really important points that you've raised. I mean, on the last one about the students and getting them more engaged, I mean, this is also part of the education system as a whole. I mean, the way I look at, I mean, higher education is a product of the whole system. It's not just higher education on its own. So it's a product of the whole system. But this is the whole concept about learner agency. Students are much more engaged in control over their own, much more focus around, teamwork, project-based learning, looking at engagement in that sense, as opposed to just sitting passively in a classroom. And that is part and parcel of have the teach have your academic faculty have they experience of innovating innovative pedagogical and teaching and learning methods? What kind of continuous professional development are they having? It's a transformation in the whole teaching experience in order to also get the students in. Looking at your curriculum development should involve, if you said going out to the companies, but you should start with, as it says in that PDCA cycle, is engaging with your stakeholders from the very start. Meetings with people, talking. What are the kinds of issues? Looking ahead. Many employers only can think about the jobs they need today. So they're important to talk to, but they're not necessarily know all the answers. So what is that future? What's the engagement? What's happening in the sector? What are the new sectors? How is this going to be changed? Going out, having those discussions, not a once off, but they should be part and parcel of continual engagement. And one thing I always recommend is at your program level, having what you could broadly call a stakeholder engagement committee or a stakeholder engagement council, or however you want to frame it, but something that is that you've got on a semi-regular basis of engagement. And likewise, the students are part and parcel of the quality assurance system. And yes, those surveys, they're kind of meaningless. That's why, you don't get many. I mean, I'm on an academic board of a private university here, or private college here. And, I made the same comment about these student satisfaction forms. I get them all the time from companies. Were you happy with our service? I never fill them out. The only people who fill these things out are people who have a gripe, or people who are, and you have to be careful. I mean, again, if you look at the paper I sent, you have to be careful. People's students' view about their institution can vary. It could vary because I've got a gripe, or it could vary about, oh gosh, I don't want to say anything negative about my institution. Then it'll reflect bad on my employment opportunities. So you have to, it's how you write the questions. You might be far better off with focus groups. Bring the students in and having someone engage them in a conversation. What worked? What was good about this program? What was not so good? What should we be doing? Are we working on real life? That kind of a thing. You'd be better off with that than having these forms circulated.
Yes, thank you. It's exactly the same. Yep.
Yeah.
But in Köln, I remember that the president of that university, she always saying that students are not learners, they are our fans, and we are building their future together.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you so much. Yes. So as exactly Habilaki also mentioned, we have some significant challenge. Yes, we have some pros, we have some cons. Yes, and exactly after listening to really important presentations, all in all, if we see our higher educational landscape, we have like three basic problems, and the three basic problems are being solved. The first one, it is in 2017, we have the main issue like quality assurance about internal and external aspect, yes, which you have mentioned in your first presentation. And there was a special document was being adopted, concept of development of higher educational institution till 2030. And there was an increasing of firstly numbers of universities, number of accredited exactly programs. It is a great result. Then we have second problem, AI integration in our curriculum. Let's say if we compare 7-8 years ago, universities infrastructure exactly integration of digital transformation, it is a really, we can see noticeable change because there was a specific document, digital transformation strategy, also till 2013. So after that, there were so many startups, incubators, AI integration. So really noticeable change, yes, at all universities. whether it's a humanitarian, technical, or information technology, doesn't matter. And last, the third main problem, it is a integration of science and academia. Labor market needs, how we can represent labor market needs in our curriculum. So the main initiative were taken by technical universities, yes, and there was a specific document also were being signed by the country's president, yes. There was also significant change. So many engineering schools were being established and many changes in curriculum. So right now I'm representative of humanitarian university, let's say one of the youngest universities. So we have also some change, yes. But still we have some challenge because it is a language, it is a literature, let's say, some social sciences. It would take some time from exactly my perspective. And about exactly benchmarking and rankings, I fully agree with that statement. There shouldn't be falsification. They shouldn't be race after ranking. Yes, it will lead to other problem, other side of that aspect. And for instance, our university, let's say it is a specific university where the mission it's a little bit different, yes, if we compare with the other one. That's why we here highlight the strengths of the university and we pay attention to sustainable development goals. How university can impact society, how university can be, let's say, a driver of development in some specific sustainable development goals. That's why our university right now is a leading on that issue. But we have some challenge in the research issue because it is difficult to publish, let's say, in some highly indexed journals, in Scopus, Web of Science, it doesn't matter because it is limited number. And also a specific area difficult to publish, let's say. And that is also a great challenge, yes, in our case. Anyway, yes, I think there are so many significant changes and the transformation process has been already started. And that's it, yes.
Yeah, they're taking on a huge, I mean, the presidential decree has an enormous agenda. An enormous agenda. So it is a question of working out a path through it. Before people get overwhelmed and just throw their hands up. So it is a bit of a question of that sort. But I mean, they're all very important and very impressive, I have to say, as to what Uzbekistan is taking on. So really, as much help as possible that I can give. Yes, on the benchmarking, yeah. I mean, the key thing, I expect a better term is peer learning, is that kind of a network, whether you do it within the country is one thing, is also important within the region, or you pick a handful of institutions that, and again, it's a question of individual institutions also understanding what their mission is and setting their own priorities. So we talked about national government priorities. You've also got institutional priorities. Now, there needs to be some, in my view, a correspondence between that. But if you're an arts institution or a humanities, then you've got a certain set of issues that are your priorities. And you mentioned SDGs and societal challenge. Or if you're an engineer, you've got another set of priorities, all within this overarching. And yeah, so it's important that both are in alignment, but that you do both of them. Yeah, and so peer learning is a good way to look at that. It's more of a process of setting aside times in which you share experiences and learning from each other. And the group might be is small. It's not necessarily big, not necessarily one, but a small group of institutions who are interested in learning from each other. or sharing experiences? What works?
Yes, I also fully agree, yes, about peer learning.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
there's lots of.
Okay. Do we have some ideas more, or we can finalize the session itself? I would like to ask one more from audience. If yes, you can raise your hand. If no, it's okay. Exactly when we organize a technical assistant mission with Ellen, yes, as I mentioned at the beginning, 1 year before, and there was a great dissemination. Like there was a great event for 2 days offline format. And as exactly audience asked it to translate all the material into Uzbek and to send on ministry side to all universities. It was like more than 200 universities. Then we did once follow-up event in the Uzbek format and everything became really clear. So the presentation will be sent, I think, by ministry or by Erasmus office. And this exactly Bologna event we will do offline format next year. We will discuss it with Ellen. We will exactly choose suitable time for both sides. And exactly this format will be on an enhanced scale next year. Right now it is like at the first initial stage. Like we are starting how we can adopt, let's say, Bologna, yes, in our national context. What are principles? What exactly is the stage at ministry level? What exactly we have done? So there will be SWOT analysis in details.
Yeah, I mean, there are frameworks and so on that are at the ends of these presentations that you can look at there and use them as a, adapt them as what it's not set in stone. Obviously, adapt it to how you think and which would work, but a kind of a framework for how you would go about doing some of these things, and likewise on the data side. I wasn't quite clear as to where you are on the. I mean, I just would say one thing on the national data. There's very few countries who have great systems. The US had a great system. The Finns are quite good. I gave you some examples, but yeah, I mean, it's a complex multi-year project from the government perspective to move ahead on that. But even the institutions and all that information you really need for your quality assurance side. How do you know how well your program is doing? Or are you just teaching people for unemployment or to emigrate? I mean, that's another issue of labor of alignment is because I work a lot on some of these issues around labor market, and one of the issues is if the educational system isn't sufficiently forward thinking but also aligned, then what you're effectively doing is educating all your students to leave. That's not really the objective.
Yes. So exactly the key lesson from today session is quality insurance defines firstly our values, qualification frameworks. It translates those values into recognized outcomes, and data allows to monitor, learn, and improve over time. And for our Uzbekistan, this integrated approach supports our broader national goals, developing human capital, strengthening public trust, enhancing international cooperation, and also ensure that higher educational institutions contributes meaningfully to social, economic, and cultural development. And I would like to thank you exactly on behalf of our university, on behalf of the audience and experts, yes, Professor Ellen Hazelhorn, for guiding us through this exactly topic. It was really an insightful contribution, and also I think this topic, it is an initial stage of something really huge, because we have known about the topic itself. There are so many higher educational reform experts, they're like sharing their ideas, But we need some stage to implement it on a ministry level, at the national level. And your exactly presentation, it was really useful. And there are some specific mechanism as well, and something which we can think over. After there will be some discussions with the experts, with the representatives of ministry, because they should be the result. It shouldn't be only 3-hour session. It shouldn't be like only at the meeting, as I exactly mentioned. As quality assurance, it's not only a document, it's not only a checklist, it is national priority. And this topic also, it is one item of our national priority. That's why, thank you so much, Ellen. Yes. Yes, and
You're very,
touch, yes, and I think next year they will be offline session, and we will think about all details together.
okay, well, thank you very much. The one thing about is always to think about it looks very complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's probably worth a while just I mean, I threw an awful lot at you in terms of covering the issues. Maybe too many. But the thing is maybe to plot out a pathway, a roadmap of implementation would probably be helpful. There's also a lot of terms and a lot of initials, abbreviations. So that's always a problem. But yeah, I mean, take it easy and look at all the, step your way through it. A roadmap to implementation would probably be a good idea to think about.
Thank you so much.
You're
Once
very
again,
welcome. Thank
for
you.
the so
Thank you,
see
Ellen.
Thank you.
Tashkent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very
Thank
you,
much.
Ellen.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Helen.
Bye.
Bye.